Welcome to the Fall 2024 New Jersey Film Festival Filmmaker Q&A session. Today we have four wonderful people to talk about three terrific films. I'm also being joined by Anita LaBelle, who's the Assistant Director of the New Jersey Film Festival. I'm Professor Albert Nigrin. I've been running this thing for 43 years, and it's my pleasure to be able to bring wonderful independent films to our audiences here in New Jersey. The Fall 2024 Film Festival will be taking place between September 6th and October 18th on select Friday, Saturday, and Sundays. Our festival is still a hybrid, which means we'll be screening the films online for 24 hours on their show date. So when a film is playing in person, there will also be a way for you to watch it online. The ticket is good for in-person and online, so you can do both. And yes, we have some crazy people who watch the film during the day, and then whenever the filmmaker is going to be present at our in-person screening, they come, they'll watch it again, and then they ask questions of the filmmaker. But a lot of people can't do that. So we've set up this Q&A session so that folks that are going to be watching remotely will be able to get some more information about the film. And it's also a way as a kind of precursor to interest people in coming to watch the movies. So the Q&A sessions do a lot of different things. Stick around at the very end. I'll show you how to buy tickets, but I need to introduce you to these wonderful folks. Judy, Drosd, and Joey Skaggs, who are to my, I guess to my left, on the screen. We've shown every single one of their short films, and we showed a wonderful documentary about Joey called Art of the Prank back in 2015. It won Best Documentary at our festival back then. Marieli Fröhlich, I met a few years ago, probably 5 years ago, when her film Stop won Best Experimental Film as part of our festival. And Christopher Wiersema is a filmmaker that I was introduced to by another alumnus of our festival, Michel Negroponte, and he said, you've got to show Christopher's film. So I took a look at it, and I was part of the jury for the experimental one. So I thought, wow, this is terrific. So we're showing his film. The names of the films are very important, and I'm going to tell you their names right now. Christopher's film is called Rough Blazing Star. It's an experimental film that focuses on granite workers who were also anarchists that immigrated to Barre, Vermont. And so his film is a quasi-experimental documentary. Marieli Fröhlich's film is about her mom, who is this really amazing painter, poster maker, activist, feminist in a very male world. And she was married to Peter Kubelka, who's also a very famous experimental filmmaker. So we'll be talking about Gertie Fröhlich and her in Marieli's wonderful film. And Judy and Joey's film is called BioPEEPs. And well, I'm truncating the title, but it's another film by Joey, who's the master prankster. And so we're going to be talking about all these wonderful films. Welcome, everybody. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Anita LaBelle is also here to ask questions. So Anita, I'm putting you on the spot. You get to ask the first question.
It's so nice to meet you all. I was watching all of your films, and they all have such a distinct way of storytelling. I know Christopher's film kind of gets into this more poetic way to tell stories, and obviously with Joey Skaggs, it's kind of a bit of the past prank telling versus the present, how it happened, how it came to be. And I was wondering if you guys could talk a little bit about your filmmaking style and how you found it for this specific film.
Good question. Why don't you go first, Christopher?
Sure. So, how I found it for this specific film, I think my background is in video art and experimental filmmaking, and I've been interested in documentary and been teaching youth documentary here in Vermont. So I love sitting down with people and just interviewing them. So when I was just fascinated by this space, and my family is from Italy and had moved to Chicago, you know, and so I'm third generation Italian American, and so I was interested in this Italian immigrant story here in Vermont, and specifically this space, the old labor hall. And so it just started around there, and finding folks that had memories of the building. And then I think just reading, a lot of reading, and just following that, and just this kind of like visual dreamlike memory that comes with the way that I like to make films. So it's not so linear. And yeah, and I found two really wonderful people to interview, and that they become kind of like the heart of the film.
Wonderful. Marieli?
Oh, why I did this film, or what is the
Your
the
style of your
motive?
film is very poetic, just like the other two films that we were showing. I think that's why I partnered these together as part of our Q&A, because you have experimental techniques that you use in your movie as well, even though it's a documentary. So
Yeah, well, basically what I wanted to do, since she was so important and influential in Vienna, but also gravely overlooked and nearly forgotten now, I not only organized a big exhibition in Vienna for her and I curated it, but I also wanted to do this film. And basically, I wanted to keep myself completely out, since she's my daughter, and even my father is in the film, Peter Kubelka. So that's not an easy thing to do. So I totally took myself out, and I did the style I did is like everything is in black and white, but her work should be in color, so it's her moment to shine. And that was actually let's say the idea about the style of the film. Other than that, I tried to tell a little bit about her personal story, so you can understand where she comes from. But mostly, since my mom always said, how are you, what's happening? So the film is called What's Happening, Art in the Life of Gertie Fröhlich. So she was a very curious person, and that's why I chose this title. And yeah, basically, you see what happened in her life. So she was a rebel. Yeah, sorry.
That's okay. The image behind me is the opening image from Marieli's film, which I absolutely love. And the person behind me is also very interesting. And I'll ask you about that in a second, but it's time for Judy and Joey to tell us about their film.
Yes.
Our film project started in 2020, right in the midst of COVID, and we were locked down. And Joey had spoken for quite a long time about doing an oral history series, and we thought this is the time to do it. So we were somewhat constricted by the fact that we really couldn't go anywhere or do anything. So we just put him in the window in the dining room, and he's told, we actually have probably 46 of these in the can of him telling stories.
Wow.
He also has a massively prodigious archive of material that dates back to the mid-60s. And this was the perfect way of re-enlivening all of that material that we have. You know, some of it's sitting in boxes, some is on videotape, but to be able to tell the stories and bring it to life with the actual footage from the time was very exciting to us.
I think we've shown all of them, right? So far, you're up to 10. I don't know, have we shown all of them? I think we've shown most of them.
Truthfully, there is an 11th film, but it's been public, so we didn't put it into any film festivals.
Right.
And that is about the Earlville Opera House, which is an opera house in central New York. Wow. And I'll let Joey tell that story really quickly.
Really quick. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
I bought an opera house that was going to be torn down and rescued it, and it's now a thriving cultural center after 50 years.
Wow.
Something out of all the artists that have been able to exhibit and perform there. And very quickly, my work is kind of ephemeral. I went from being a fine arts painter and a sculptor to being a social, political, satirical prankster, if you want to call me a prankster. But I take that art very seriously. It's not stupid jokes. And I amassed, as Judy said, a large collection of documentation, and wanted to put it to use, just like all of you. The common denominator that I see in all of us is, what do we do about legacy? What do we do about memory? What do we do about the work that was created by all the people we love or respect? And if we don't do anything about it, it's gone. So I wanted to share the work that I've done for all these decades with the future, with the present and the future. So doing an oral history was a way of utilizing the archive and also showing how relevant the work still is.
I think you stole my question. Well, you stole my point, because the next thing I was going to say, well, my job as a curator is, how do you get this batch of films from the jury, and you have to find a home for them on the schedule. And to be honest with you, I had all three of your films playing together. And then I thought about it and I said, well, Christopher's film focuses on Italian anarchists. Why not posit his film with a capitalist who's an Italian, who came to the United States, and he's the man who's known for creating that whole notion of the American dream. So I thought I would have this kind of, not a clash, but a juxtaposition of differing points of view about the economics of and social geopolitical point of view that they came from. And I thought that would be an interesting mix. But to be honest with you, they were all posited together at one point. And then I kind of mixed it up, and I moved Joey's film and Marieli's to play with a German experimental film, which I thought also would play nicely. So as a curator, it's not always easy to find homes for films, but yours were pretty easy, because I think they did focus on legacy. And the film that Christopher is playing with is also about preserving the legacy of A.P. Giannini. Right. And so I think that works. And the German film also has a hint of that as well, that is playing with Joey and Marieli's film. I will eventually tell you when the films are playing, but I was just fascinated by the use of archival footage in all three of the films. I mean, we have archival footage, photographs. When you're crafting the movie, is the archival part the last thing that you add, or is it the first thing, or is it in between? Joey, you guys get to go first, Judy and Joey, since Christopher went first the last time.
We're both very familiar with what is in the archive, and Joey is a master storyteller. Right. So as he's telling the story, it's fairly straightforward for me to visualize how that material is going to weave into it. It's sort of
I have to compliment Judy. I'm sitting in a window telling these stories one after the other for days and days and days and days and days. And we're shooting with a cell phone, and it's like the most elemental, ridiculous situation, but it was working. And then we had the juxtaposition of going back into the 60s or whatever it was, and pulling out vintage footage. So we were going between different realities all the time. But I had to tell these stories. I didn't have it wasn't a script. The script was my memory of what was going on. We recorded that, and then we had the documentation, which we're both familiar with, to fill in the gaps to document, to verify what is it I'm saying is really true.
So the interview is the first kernel, and then you add to that?
Yes.
Very
absolutely.
cool.
Yeah.
Marieli, how did you weave your archival footage in? I mean, you do a really wonderful montage of various things, films that were influential, people who were influential. I really like that kind of jump cutty style that you have. Is that something you had initially envisioned, or is it something that came about?
I think it's a bit of my style, this the editing style, but I focused first on the oral history, because there are a lot of people that are already old in this film. So and during the first shooting sessions, there were like 4 people that died that I really wanted to talk to, but that this is how it happened. And and then after all these hours and hours of material, just reduce it to these 30 minutes. Then I added the archival materials and photographs. So the most time I spent on this film, and it sounds a bit unbelievable, was like nearly 3 months of editing.
Wow.
Because you have to, reduce what you have from, like, I think I had like 10 hours of spoken material. and then reduced it to half an hour, because it also, you know, I could do 10 films out of the material, but this is what I did now. And coming back to the figure that you have on my photo that you put with the dancing girls, it's a goddess that comes. You can hear of this goddess in the eastern countries, like in Slovakia and Slovenia, but also in the northern countries. And she's called Morena, and she is a pagan goddess, spring goddess, which is both has the dualities. It's about dying. Winter is dying. It's like Easter, yeah, replacing Easter. And Mom was raised, even though there is Jewish ancestors, she was raised very Catholic in a small town in Slovakia, which they had to flee during World War. And she hated this strict Catholic approach from the beginning. And she was really a free spirit. And she started to go with the local girls in their local outfits to do this Morena cult, which you burn in the end. And then you dance about the burning goddess.
So it's a very pagan ritual. It's a pagan ritual.
Pagan ritual, but it's a female, very strong female sign of power. And the people there, the simple people, were less religious than they were like animistic, if you want. Yeah, they had all these natural goddesses that nobody, or gods that nobody speaks about, because it's so possessed with these religions that we have, like the big religions. And I think there is also a big poetry in this kind of pagan animistic beliefs, you know. And she had a kind of altar where all these different figures were, and in her paintings you can see how she uses that, because she reverses Greek mythology. And gods are not important anymore. It's all about goddesses and how they tell the story. That's why
it's very wonderful. Wonderful. Christopher, what about you?
Sure. So I think a large part was like really process oriented, and I think that part of the archival material, you know, was just following the first thing that I started with was actually that microfilm of the Italian language newspaper. And during the pandemic, I was interested in these kind of like desktop documentaries that people were making, where they were recording their screen and playing with moving things around on their screen. And so I was doing that for a while with that newspaper through the University of Vermont that I found. And then I was, you know, when I started talking to folks, mostly Karen Lane, who was the proprietor of bringing the old labor hall back to life, she pointed me in all these directions and told me to, you know, check out the archive at the Aldrich Library, which they were very generous and just let me hang out there, you know, alone and go through their photographs and scan photographs. And that was really it, you know, just trying to find things that kind of fit the story that Alba Rossi was telling. And then, you know, a lot of it was, there was a lot more too, like others are saying. I had so much, there was like lots of things that I removed too. Drawings and art that I scanned. I think that just following, you know, directions that folks send you into is enjoyable.
Wonderful. Anita, your turn.
Hi, I know that we've talked about how all of your films kind of deal with legacy using, you know, archival footage and also stuff that's more modern or multimedia. And I was wondering, if thinking about how the audience is watching your films, if there's anything you hope the audience takes away, or something that you wish the audience knew about either the people involved or the actual filmmaking process. What's something that you hope the audience kind of leave your film with?
Marieli, you go first this time.
Well, I think it's like her art. It should be an encouraging message, that, and also a reminder that so many women still are forgotten and are not seen in the right perspective and I mean, I didn't want to do a feminist film because I wanted to do about a film about a woman that was a feminist her entire life, yeah. And this is what she gave to me. So it's in this sense, it's not really a political film. Well, it might be, but it's just it's maybe a film where I want a little bit more focus on what is still has to be done about female legacy, you could call it, yeah. But it's a personal film, so.
I mean, your mom passed away shortly after you interviewed.
Yeah, I mean, I started too late, and it had to do with personal things. My partner died, la la la. So the entire plan that I had did not work out for nearly 10 years because he was very sick. And so then I just forced myself to start, and it was a very good idea. And first I wanted to focus much more on her, but then I thought, no, she did so much for other people, and she was such a center with her flat and everything. And also the gallery that she founded was the gallery in Vienna for like abstract art. It didn't exist before. And then the guy that took over took the entire credit, and she took it from a person that he just thought she's too young. She was 25, but she had a brilliant eye for other artists. And then she only exhibited once in this gallery, and it rose, and it's a super gallery now, yeah? Because of this gallery, the Museum of the 20th Century was founded. All these things, you name it. She was also in New York a lot, and she worked in New York. And so in the end, it turned out that I thought, no, I don't want her so much in this film, just a little bit. I want the others to talk about her and to put her into the light, and especially her work, because this is what was forgotten. So, yeah.
I think you have enough there for a feature, Marieli.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this should be almost like the pilot with the larger project in mind. And I think it's interesting. There's so much more I wanted to know about, you know,
yeah,
the during the war, and I think also the elements of, you know, how she dealt with these people that kind of ripped her off. So
well,
and took
she was
credit for
very,
stuff
very
that she
funny
did.
and very charming. She could
Yeah.
like entertain an entire table, but she, in a way, and it has to do with the strict upbringing of her father, which she escaped. I mean, there are stories that are not in the film. For example, when she didn't bring the best grades in school, she got beaten and quite a lot. And so one day she said, okay, I had it, and she escaped to the woods, and she spent 2 nights in the raspberry
Bushes.
where the raspberries are. And she woke up in the morning, and there was a bear. And then finally they found her, and she wasn't like crying or anything. She just told them it was fun, and I saw a bear. And there is a lot of things in her life where she repeats this kind of independence. And this is something that I'm so grateful for, because she lived that, and she passed it on to me. And I think that is maybe what I would like to see the audience, is this independence. Of course, it comes it has a price, like everything in life has a price, but she was a real role model in this sense. And maybe this, apart from her art, should be the message. But I'm thinking about a longer version.
I think so.
Because a lot of people say so.
I think all three, I mean, well, Joey's film, I think, could become, you know, like Brian Eno's new film that has 52 billion. They use some algorithm to change it each time. You know, you could do something like that. I don't know. You should Google the Brian Eno film, because that's what they're doing. So each time you watch it, it's different. But of course, that's not the way it's going to be presented. But Joey and Judy, you tell us more about your film vis-a-vis what Anita asked.
Well, this is really something for Joey to talk about, but for me, looking at it, I feel like the message is really about empowerment, which is a stance that Joey has always taken. I mean, without putting a word to it, it's just the way he's lived his life.
Yeah.
When he wants to make a statement about something, he figures out a way to say it so that it gets people's attention. And he's done that his entire career. So I'll turn this over to you to speak.
I don't know what to say. It's really, I guess, finding one's own voice and encouraging people to find their own voice and to speak out, to speak up and to speak out about issues that are profoundly disturbing them or disturbing all of us. And doing it with wit and satire and humor and sometimes even confrontation. So I use various techniques. I have used various techniques over the course of years. Ask me something pointed, I guess.
Well, I think, Anita, do you want to qualify, or I can jump in?
No, you can jump in. I'll go ahead.
I mean, I know Anita's a big fan because, you know, we have a large part of our jury is made out of students, cinema studies students. And Anita's one of my most brilliant, and she's been writing about films, and she sees things that the other students don't see. She's older than, her brain is older than her body. And I think when she was talking about your films, what she liked about it, I think I remember her saying that you question authority, and that's something that young people like to do. And you challenging the media, and just now with all of the political scene in the United States and how, you know, there's this whole movement because the man is old that he should not be the president. But meanwhile, you have a con man, a convicted criminal, well, a felon anyway, and he's okay. I think the questioning of authority in the media is so crucial. How do you feel about today's political scene in the United States? I mean,
You're asking me?
yeah, you were prescient in so many ways, a bit about fake news and all this other stuff.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's horrible.
That's what BioPEEPs is about, you know.
Yes.
It's really all about how there's going to be this biological virus that's going to be used, and it was a prank, but here it is today. So,
well, maybe I was, every time I watch any of your pranks, I think, you know, they could be made now. Like, it's still, all the issues you deal with are still present. They haven't gone away. And so it makes me think, like, is now the time more than ever for these pranks, or is, you know, can we still use these hoaxes for political activism and progression? Or, like Al's kind of saying, with today's media already kind of all over the place, is there a different action that needs to be taken? And I was wondering if maybe you have feelings about that, or you're trying to leave the audience with the sense of, like, go out and make change or something along those lines.
Well, hopefully there'll always be the element of satire to express one's ideas. So to me, it's a medium that works for me. I'm able to express what is bothering me, what's current, and fortunately they have longevity. They have a shelf life that's gone on for decades. I'm pleasantly surprised when I see how relevant what I did so long ago still is. And I'll be 80 next year, so you know I'm still doing it. I hope that encourages people that they can continue their entire lives. And I don't know what to say, but thank you.
more power to you, Joey. What about you, Christopher?
Yeah, I think regarding like leaving the audience with it's more like a feeling, you know, that this idea of like anarchism was really the thing that I loved about it was that there was this beauty attached to it and this idealism. And Emma Goldman writes about, like filling their apartments with flowers and music and things like that. And so I think that's why I kept coming back to this beauty, this idea that it's idealistic, you know, and in the best way, that's inside of all of us, you know, to go for this radical idea that, like, you know, things could be better in every sense. And, you know, you could fight oppression in labor or in personal relationships. And, you know, and there's this, that's like what anarchism, I think still is relevant, and still holds this almost like spiritual truth. So that's a feeling that I guess that I wanted to leave with.
It's wonderful. Well, I'd like to ask our filmmakers if they would like to ask questions to the other filmmakers. You don't have to if you don't want to, but I thought we shouldn't be the only ones asking the questions. Feel free to jump in.
I don't have a question. I just have a comment, which is that I've really enjoyed hearing you speak about your work.
Yes.
Really enjoyed watching the films.
Yeah.
And I applaud you guys there on the left side of the screen for putting us all together. It's very thoughtful.
Oh, it's my pleasure. My job is, I tell Anita all the time that running the film festival, I think a janitor makes more money than running the film festival. In fact, I did it for free for almost 2 decades. And then I realized it was sucking in my life into it. And the board said you should get paid. So I said, all right, go ahead. But I haven't gotten a raise in 20 years either. It's the same amount. So inflation is now gobbling up everything. And that's okay because it's a labor of love. We love cinema, and Anita and I love cinema. I think you guys all love cinema too. Otherwise, you wouldn't be making movies. So it is a love fest of sorts. And we're really, really proud to be screening your films, because I think our main mission, we're a humanist film festival, and we want to celebrate man and woman and the positive things they do as much as possible, and when necessary to show the horrible things that they do as well. So our mission is to educate our audience as well as to entertain them. And we've been doing that for a long, long time, and it's been a pleasure to do that. And it's kept me young, although I'm getting close to where Joey's going to be, and it's a struggle to kind of keep active, but young people like Anita keep me going. So thanks so much for your comments. What I'd like to do now, unless you guys have questions you'd like to ask each other, which is so.
I just wanted to say I really also enjoyed the films, and basically Skaggs, I mean, I enjoyed it because I enjoyed it a lot actually, because what is the right word in English? How can you say in these days with the internet, you cannot, c'est quoi? I know it in French.
Dis-le en français, dis-le en français.
You cannot distinct anymore between pranks and what you read anyway. So it is so necessary to show this film, because it's basically, yeah, I really liked it, and it's fun, and I had to laugh a lot, but on the other hand, it's scary, because what we experience at the moment is scary. I mean,
Yes.
I want to second that too. Yeah.
It became a reality, no?
Maybe we should all become anarchists. Maybe that's
Well, I wanted to second Joey's.
About Christopher's. Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt.
Oh, no. I just wanted to say that I love that too. It reminds us in both of your films too, it reminds us that art is like, creating these things over time and creating spaces. And it's like that we need more performance. We need more, alternative spaces for painters. It's like I think that time is also really interesting in like Vienna, where these artists could all feel very free to be themselves and to try things and to like, be messy with life. And I think that that's what like performance art reminds us of too, is that we can play with meaning, and we can play with, ideas of understanding. And I was reminded of like what was the group, the Critical Art Ensemble in Chicago in the early 2000s, and they did such interesting things, and I'd love to see more people do things like that, and that those pranks, and I think that that's there's a lot to explore there.
Guerrilla Girls, I remember them.
Yeah.
We did a lot of that stuff too. And there was a community in Ukraine too. They would take off their brassieres, and then we have the gals that were thrown in jail in Russia, a Pussy Riot. And so I think, the arts can create bridges, create vehicles for the average individual to rethink the situation that we're in. And I think that's why we really enjoy showing these types of films, because
Yeah.
I think the creative element is necessary for all of us. And, you know, there's this movement to cut arts funding or cut arts programming. It's a big, big mistake. And universities in the United States are all geared towards science and math. You know, English speaking, being able to communicate through images is really, really seminal, especially given the internet today. So anyway.
But there is also a danger in the cancel culture because, yeah, there is cuts in financials, but also in the very young generation, there is canceling is like a religion, and I think this
Yeah.
is also very, very dangerous.
Right,
There is
'cause
no
it leads-
communication culture anymore. I mean, you don't have to cancel people; you should talk to them or have a communication, but not cancel people.
Yeah.
Basically a lot without knowing enough, and that's I find it difficult. But I wanted to say something about Christopher's film as well. I immediately looked it up again, the anarchist movement in Italy, and I mean, these people came from a country where the background is really hard. So this movement originates not only in Italy, but basically comes from Italy. And what I found very touching is with this Cecchini, or what his name
Oh yeah,
is.
Giuliano Cecchinelli, yeah.
Yeah, Cecchinelli. That, I mean, it's valid that he lives in the past in a way, and that was for me a very poetic thing, that he holds on to this thing, even though I'm not sure if you really can transport it in the now or in the present, but it's something beautiful. And that's also what I love about oral history, is that it's not only a documentary, but you transport a mood and a feeling of a person into the present, and it's a way of getting to know these people. And I think it's a treasure that this mood gets, from now to the audience, because yeah, we live in a time where people don't look anymore. It's just they look at their phones, but basically they don't have their eyes open.
Yeah.
So, or a lot of people, let's say, of course, there's some that have their eyes open, but sometimes I think, oh my God, they miss half of their life or what's happening around them,
Yeah.
I mean, I myself look into my phone, of course, but yeah, I grew up without all this.
Right.
Well, Marieli, you were prescient because your film Stop is all about people not looking.
Yes.
I mean, her
That's
film is
true.
all about shooting people that have their eyes closed in various locations. So
Yeah.
I don't know if maybe you can share with them. You have their emails, so share Stop
Yes,
with
I
them.
can.
I think they'll enjoy it.
Basically, I continued. I
Let's
went
all,
to.
yes.
Yes, please. I'd love to
Yeah,
keep in
thank
touch.
you.
Yeah.
I continued with the film. I went to a Palestinian camp.
Mm.
I shot various people, like really opponents, if you want to say that. And it is actually, I don't know if film can bring peace to people, but I think if you watch it for a moment, it's a unity that you can feel, and that was the target. And I want to continue. So there will be a long version.
Yeah, I remember we
For
talked
sure,
about that
this
too.
one.
I did one of these with Marieli 5 years ago, and I said you should make it in a longer film.
Yeah. So yeah.
I said that again to you for this film too. So you'll be making longer versions of your film next decade. All right,
Well, maybe
everybody.
we will meet. I don't know yet if I can
Yes,
make it.
because Marieli is hopefully coming to the States. So
Let's see if I can make it.
yeah, I'm
It's
hoping that.
unfortunately we have already tickets, but for something else. But
Yeah,
let's
no
see.
worries. I mean, but
I would
hopefully
love
you
to meet you.
you'll get the residency in Pennsylvania, and we'll get to see you there. That's
Yes.
yeah. Okay, folks. So let me just show our audience how they can purchase tickets. So I'm going to share screen, and this is our website, which hopefully you can see that. And this is normally where you would go, but because of COVID, we've partnered with Eventive. So you would normally click on current events, which just bops you down to the screen below. And this is just a placeholder for the festival and tells you basic information. You absolutely must push the red button. And once you push the red button, that bounces you to our Eventive website, which has all the films that are playing. And this is the catalog page. You can also go to the main site, which is the welcome page. And the welcome page has 5 buttons at the top that you should push to explore. But the welcome page gives you basic information, who the sponsors are, directions to the location if you come to the in-person screening, staff, as well as other basic information. Then you can click on the schedule page, which gives you a linear version of the schedule with, I used to put pictures on here, but it took forever to load. So I just did it textually. And you can see that Rough Blazing Star is playing on Sunday, September 8th. It's online for 24 hours on that day. So it starts at midnight on that Sunday and it plays till 11:59. If you start watching at 11:59, you still have a day to watch it. That's the one great thing about this program. And if you'd like, you can also watch it in person because the ticket is good for both at 5 o'clock. And Christopher's coming down and he's going to be doing a Q&A live with the audience. I'm not sure if Valentina and Cecilia will be coming for the Giannini film. They did a tour last fall, so I'm not sure if they're going to come back for this screening. But there's always a Q&A with any of the filmmakers that come. And you can keep working your way down and you can see that on Friday, September 20th, again, online for 24 hours. And this in-person show is at 7 p.m. We'll be showing Martin Garrix's Tori, Joey Skaggs, BioPEEP, and Judy and Joey. I don't know where you guys are based. Are you in Hawaii or?
We don't tell.
You don't tell. Kentucky, Hawaii, New York. You guys are all over. And then Marieli's film is the last film that we'll be screening that evening. And if you want to go and buy tickets, you have to click the tickets button, which is our catalog page. And you want to buy tickets, you would just kind of hover over the image and you can click the button that says pre-order now. You'll need to register if you've never registered with our festival. It takes 30 seconds and then you never have to do it again. You can just buy tickets right away. If you want to keep exploring, the film guide gives you individual, I guess, placeholders for each one of the films. So you click on BioPEEP, you get to see more information about Joey's film. You want to hit, let's see here, my mouse is freezing, Rough Blazing Star, more information about Christopher's film. And then you work your way all the way to the bottom. You get that nice picture and the art that GERTIE was famous for. And you can buy tickets there too. Last thing I will show you is to go back to the welcome page. We will be doing a concert with Jim Haynes. He's a kind of noise ambient. We've been adding a concert series, but each one of these concerts has a visual component. There's always projections behind the artist. And we're working, that's one of the things that we're shooting with Anita starting tomorrow, is to produce these images that will go behind Jim Haynes's concert. And if you want to buy a pass, it'll save you a lot of money. You get to see everything at a reduced rate. So that's where you would buy an all access pass. And I'm going to stop sharing screen and say thank you to all of you for hanging out for almost an hour. This is one of our longest Q&As ever, but I think I could talk to you guys for hours on end. So folks, if you want to come, I know Christopher will be at the screening. You can hang out with him. Otherwise, make sure you check out these movies. You need further information, just go to njfilmfest.com and click on that red button I pointed out to you for the fall festival. I want to say thank you to Anita, as usual, for helping me. I want to say thank you to Joey and Judy. I combined your names. That's a first. And Marieli, as well as Christopher, for doing this Q&A. Thanks so much, guys. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much.
Thank you. Bye.